Hi guys, Ali Taylor here, and today I'm going to talk about how to hit the perfect draw. Right, and so for some of you guys out there who just hit fades and slices, probably any kind of draw, anything that shapes from right to left is probably a great shot for you visually. But the key is there's no point in getting the ball shaping right to left if we don't really understand where it's going to finish. So what we're going to talk through in today's video is, first of all, that understanding of to hit the perfect draw, what the ball needs to do. We're going to understand what we need to do in our golf swing, and then we're going to get you hitting the perfect draw. So there it is, that perfect draw that sets off right of target and gets back to finish at target. Right, so we'd all love to be able to hit that shot, maybe not all the time, but certainly be able to hit it on call. So first of all, what creates the ball shaping from right to left for a right-handed golfer? So we know that the ball sets off very, very close to where that club face points. So if my club face was pointing at the target, and if the path of the club was moving to the right, that will get the ball to tilt left and get the ball to shape from right to left. So I see a lot of golfers that'll say, right, okay, so I need to swing from the inside and I need to get that club face closed at impact. Now some golfers will stand there and actually close the club face a little bit at address. Other golfers will get a feel for how they close it to impact. Now, I'm not necessarily saying either way is better than the other, it's which one works best for you. But I think the challenge I see with a lot of golfers then is they'll stand there and they'll hit this shot. One that sets off left, viciously hooks to the left, and that will get you in a whole lot of trouble. I mean, technically, you could say you were trying to shape it from right to left. You have done, but I think if you're losing golf balls, things like that, you're not going to look at that as a good shot. So if we understand the concept that the path needs to be working more to the right of where the club face is pointing, we also need to be aware of where the target is. So I'm going to look at some numbers on TrackMan from that first shot we hit. I'm going to explain why the ball did what it did, and then we're going to look at some numbers for that second shot and help you understand the difference. And then from that, we're going to learn how to hit more of the first one. Okay, so we can see on the shot there's three different numbers we're going to look at. We're going to look at club path, which is obviously the swing path that the club's moving on at impact with the ball. The face to path. So the club face there was minus, which is left or closed. So it was 4.4 degrees closed to the path. But here's the key thing. The face angle on TrackMan is where the club was pointing relative to the target. So it was actually pointing 2.5 degrees to the right, or it was open to the target line. Now this is where I think golfers have got to be very careful nowadays. I think, obviously I use TrackMan, which I know is very high end on price, but there's guys out there who practice on TrackMan. There's a lot of other launch monitors that give this feedback. And I think you've got to be very careful to how you interpret your data, because a lot of golfers could look at that first one and say, well, my club face was 2.5 degrees open. So how is that drawn with an open club face? Got to remember, the club face is only open to the target, and like we said at the start, the ball's going to set off very close to where the club face points. So the club face was actually 4.4 degrees close to the path, which is going to get the ball to shape. So that's the ideal scenario. We want the club face to be pointing right of target at impact, but we want the club face to be close to the path. Now we could see on the first one, it wasn't the absolute perfect one because it did finish a little bit left of target. So either my club face was slightly too close relative to the path, creating a little bit too much shape, or, and it ties in, the club face wasn't right enough or open enough of the target. So I think the initial thing for a lot of guys is understanding what's happened on that bad one. So let's look at the numbers on that and see how they were different. So the club path was 7.3 degrees from the inside, so not massively different from the really good shot that I hit. But then the club face was 15.1 relative to the path, so very, very closed. So that would create a lot of shape. But equally, the face angle was 7.8 degrees left of target. And we can see from the ball flight there, that's then setting off left and shaping to the left, and that's a real killer. Right, so there's a lot of information there, and I think it can be very, very difficult kind of in the golf swing to be thinking about, I need to get the club face closed but open to the target. So I would say for a lot of guys, it's a case of maybe building aim, address, in to help the ball setting off closer to where we want. So what I say for a lot of the guys that I work with kind of face to face is when we're starting to draw the ball, I just want to see the ball going left. So what I would say is we would get there, and like I said, some guys will close the club face at address, some will do it during the golf swing. But I would get them to aim straight initially and try and draw the ball. And normally what you will see with golfers is the ball starts setting off left and shaping to the left. So once guys can start hitting a few shots, if we start seeing some consistent numbers, or if you're not practicing on a launch monitor, a consistent shape of shot. So that shot, for example, was a good one in the sense that it shaped from right to left, but my face angle was 6 degrees left of target. So the ball was always going to set off left. Now, if I'm consistent doing that, instead of aiming dead straight, I can now aim my club further to the right and align my body more to the right and try and make the same swing. The theory now being that because I've aimed further to the right, my club face relative to target, because that doesn't change. The numbers might look a bit more exaggerated, but when you play golf, you're not playing with numbers, you're playing with what the golf ball's doing. So if I was aiming straight and hitting that shot, it's probably a bit more shape than I would like to see. But then in theory, if I can now just aim to the right and make the same swing, the ball sets off further right, shapes back, still miss target slightly left, but again we can see the numbers now because I've aimed further right. The face angle relative to target looks loads better. It looks like my club path, I've changed it. I haven't changed my path. All I've done is instead of swinging down that line, I've moved everything round to swing down that line. And because the launch monitor, because TrackMan's aiming at the target, the path looks more exaggerated. But because the face angle's better, I've managed to set the ball off right of target to give me a more playable one. I mean, like I said, probably that's a bit more shape than we would like to see, but if it was, you almost have to go with that on the day. So then maybe aim that fraction further right again. That one sets off further right and finish closer to target. And again, when we look at numbers, we can see because I've aimed further right, I've actually got the club face a little bit more close to the path, but the face relative to target is further to the right. So I think when you are hitting those draws, obviously I think because there's so much information out there now about golf swing, a lot of golfers are very knowledgeable about the fact that that club face needs to be close to the path, or that the path needs to be right of the club face to get the ball shaping. But I do think there's a misconception or a misunderstanding sometimes about the club face relative to the target. So if you're going to shape the ball from right to left, the ball has to set off right of target to have any chance of finishing at target. I'm someone who's played with a draw most of his life, and I would say ultimately my bad one has always been that one that probably sets off too straight and shapes left. I've never wanted to feel for me that I get more and more to the right, because I think instinctively I just close the club face more and more. So for me, I would actually say, I would probably feel, even for me, like I'm trying to hit a very slight fade. And we can see there, not a huge amount of shape in that, but that's the challenge for me. You look at those numbers and you see that my club face is still 2.7 degrees close to my path. The face angle is actually slightly right of target. So that in itself is almost the perfect draw. For me, that feels like I'm trying to hit a fade. For a lot of you guys out there who hit left to right, small amounts, big amounts, you might feel that you're even hooking it. But remember, to hit that perfect draw, yes, we need the path to be from the inside, the club face to be closed to the path, but we need that club face to be to the right or open to target. Right then, so hopefully that kind of clears everything up, because I think most golfers understand that the club face needs to be closed or left for a right-handed golfer to the swing path. So therefore the path needs to be moving more right than the club face. But I think a lot of golfers that speak to me kind of get very confused when they're talking about club face closed. Is it relative to path? Is it relative to target? And because it's so unclear in the heads, they really, really struggle on the golf course, even if they are getting the ball to shape from right to left, to actually get the ball to set off in the correct place to be able to get back to target. So as long as you have that clear in your head, and then you can commit to what you're doing, I think you're going to hit more of those perfect draws than you've ever hit before. So guys, hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, like and share it, comment below, and I'll get back to as many people as I can. If you don't currently subscribe, please consider clicking the subscribe button, ringing that notification bell, and then you'll find out whenever I drop a new video. Follow me on all my social media platforms, all under Ali Taylor Golf. Hopefully catch up with some guys down here soon. Stay in contact.